Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you again from North Carolina. Well, today you are in for a treat. We have got some experts in the field that are going to give us some expert advice on thru hiking. To find out what that is, stick around. If you've come to this channel looking for thru hikers on the Appalachian Trail, you've come to the right place. If you've come here wanting to be part of the hiker community or help me build the hiker community and help me support the thru hikers, you've come to the right place as well. So go down in the description section. Down there you'll find a link to a Google spreadsheet, and that's where all the thru hikers are. And you can click on that and find them in all their social media accounts and give them a attaboy and just help them all the way as they go all the way to Katahdin or Springer or anywhere in between. Subscribe to this channel and you'll get my weekly updates to find out who's doing what, where, who's on the trail, who's off the trail, and how things are going on the trail. Let's go ahead and get on with that expert advice I promised you. So the first thru hiker we've got giving us advice is Moxie. She is a sweetheart of a girl that come along and I met on our section hike when we were coming from Pennsylvania down into Virginia. She was the caretaker there at the Blackbird Trail Center, and she was a thru hiker in 2017. Now, one of the challenges that she faced was at the time she was a Mennonite. So if you don't know much about Mennonites, they're kind of like Amish folk, I guess, but in any case, part of her religion was that she had to hike in a full dress, and that was what they wore, and the type of hat that she had to wear on her head, and she had to keep up with those and wear those the whole time. So as you can imagine, most people hike in shorts, and that could be pretty difficult. But Moxie is the type of person that she's up to any challenge, and she certainly surpassed that, and she made it all the way on her no-bow trip all the way to Katahdin. So we had the opportunity to chat and just to kind of get to know each other a little bit down while we were at Blackburn Trail Center, and then just through social media we've got to know each other a little better. So she has some really good advice for us, and so Moxie, you go ahead and take it away.
Class of 2021, I'm excited for y'all and jealous. 3 pieces of advice. First piece of advice is you don't have to obsess about gear. Make sure you take care of your feet. After that, the best gear decisions that you can make come with the experience of miles, and miles will always be better than research online. Second piece of advice, ease up on your expectations. Let the trail be whatever it is for your own personal journey. Expectations are disappointments waiting to happen. Third piece of advice, when you document your journey, take pictures of people. In 5 years from now, when you look at your files and files of photos, the views will all kind of look the same, and you won't remember one from the next. And the trail really is about the people, so document conversations and people on trail. Best of luck.
Moxie, that is really great advice on your feet. I know that is something that I suffer with, is getting my footwear right and getting my insoles right. And so, and I'm just doing section hikes, much less walking 2,193 miles or whatever it is whenever you're hiking. So thanks a lot for that. And then also about our pictures, you know, a lot of times I just take pictures of scenery. I do need to include more people in that, and so I'm going to make a concerted effort to do that. So I appreciate that, Moxie, I really do. And that's not only good for thru hikers, but that's great advice for section hikers as well. So one of the things that Moxie said is that she'd be more than willing to talk to folks. So if you'll reach out to her through her Instagram account, and I'll leave that down in the description section, and she'll be glad to chat with you and give you any type of advice or answer any questions that you want answered. And that goes for all these folks, everybody that is in today's video and in coming up videos that we'll be having with more advice. They are more than happy to help you out. So let's go ahead and let's get on to the next thru hiker that's got some great advice for us. Next up we have got Knoxville. And as you might imagine, Knoxville got his trail name because he lives near Knoxville, Tennessee. And before the trail, Knoxville worked as a territory manager in the restaurant business, and then he quit that business to hike. So there's a lot of folks out there that do that, and a lot of folks even sell everything they have to get on the trail. So he was supposed to be no-bow pure, but like a lot of folks, and due to the pandemic, he wound up having to do a little flip-flopping around and even had to delay his start on the trail. So, but once he got on the trail, he got to Harper's Ferry, flipped up north, then he hiked back south with the Sobos, and then when he got to Harper's Ferry, he then drove to the northern end of the Smokies where he had gotten off, and he hiked to Springer for his completion. So Knoxville, go ahead and give us what you've got on that advice there, buddy.
Hey, class of 2021. Ramdino asked me to say a few things to you guys. My name's Knoxville. I just finished my 2020 thru hike back in October. Some tips from pointers for you guys. One of the main things is, like, I know that your pre-trail preparations are probably pretty stressful. I know mine were. Just know that once you get on the trail, very quickly you're going to build that confidence and that knowledge. To continue on. As long as you're open-minded and you watch the other hikers, you're going to meet people who are much more experienced than you. Just as long as you just stay open-minded to, learning some tips and tricks, and that confidence is going to come pretty quickly for you guys. I know it did for me. You don't have to know everything at first, just, be open-minded. Also, listen to your body. I know that one's said a lot, but it's totally true. Try to, don't be a hero and try to walk through, some overuse injuries. For me, it was shin splints. I had to get off the trail for a week due to trying to walk 3 or 4 extra days when I probably should have stopped and taken a 0 or 2 into some shin splints. So, luckily it didn't end my hike, but I had to take 7 or 8 zeros as a result of trying to, walk through some pain. So just be mindful of that. Another really important thing is support these small businesses, especially these outfitters along the way. I had to replace some gear along the way, and I'll tell you, going into those outfitters, like in Damascus or Hot Springs or anywhere up the trail, those shop owners live and breathe this trail. And it was very apparent when I went in there and talked to these people. That you're going to get the best gear and the best advice at the shops along the trail. So keep that in mind. Maybe there's some things you can buy along the trail instead of at a big box store. Anyway, just have fun. I know you guys are going to do great. Really proud of y'all. So thanks for Ramdino for asking me to do this, and hope to see you guys on the trail next season.
Thanks, Knoxville. That is great advice for everybody, section hiker and thru hikers alike. Knoxville's now back in the restaurant business, and he's cooking up a business idea that he's got that I'm sure, with the challenge that he faced on the trail and how he met that challenge, I'm sure he's going to be a success at that. And the advice about watching others and gain your experience and not sweating that, I've heard that from numerous folks out there. Of course, I wouldn't recommend it, but there are people that start the trail with 0 experience. So that's probably not the best way to do it, but certainly you don't have to go out there with a whole bunch of experience. So we appreciate that point there, Knoxville. And then I really enjoy that about supporting the small business on the trail. Small business makes up a huge majority of the businesses in the world and in the country. And particularly along the trail, that's what it mainly is small businesses. So thanks a lot. Please support them as much as you can. Check out Knoxville's Instagram account. I'll leave that down in the description section there. He, again, is more than happy if you reach out to him to answer any questions you got. So we got one more hiker up for this video. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what Joe Hikes has got to tell us. So one thing about Joe is Joe has been backpacking since he was 12 years old. He's an Army veteran, spent a lot of time out there in the field as an infantryman, and after he got out of the military, he came into the telecommunications fields, been doing that pretty much ever since until he got on the trail. He quit his job like a lot of folks do to get on the trail. Not really ready to retire, but he was ready to get on the trail because it was calling him. So he got on the trail February 29th, and he summited October 6th. Like a lot of folks, he was going to try to do a no-bow, but of course COVID interrupted, and so he had to get off the trail for a little bit and do a flip-flop. So we're going to tell you what he did, though, while he got off the trail, and it is something else. So Joe, go ahead and tell us what your advice is for thru hikers and section hikers out there on the trail.
Hey, this is Joe, and this is my Parsons Russell Terrier Boaz, and he's my faithful hiking companion. If you ever see me on trail, chances are we'll be together. This year, 2020, I completed a thru hike of the Appalachian Trail, northbound, and also a thru hike of the Patagonia Trail. And I've been asked by Randino to give 3 suggestions for the class of 2021. One of my favorite pieces of gear is not really gear at all, it's software, and it's called Guthook, made by Atlas Guides, and they are trail specific. They have the Appalachian Trail, and you can download offline maps, so you don't depend on a cellular connection for your mapping. And it has many other features, and it's something I used every day and multiple times a day. So my first suggestion by far is to get gut hooks. Suggestion 2, I think it's unnecessary to send yourself resupply boxes. I don't think there was ever a time on trail, including the 100-mile wilderness, that I couldn't get a resupply. Unless you have really specific dieting needs, you'll be better off just to get things local, because a lot of the resupply boxes I've seen people receiving, they ended up giving away a majority of the stuff or just leaving it in the hiker box, because you don't want to carry more food than you're going to need to the next resupply point. And your tastes change over time as well. And shipping is very expensive. Priority mail, it's like $22 for 1 box. Suggestion 3 is test your gear. Do shakedown hikes. Make sure the gear you selected is working out for you and everything fits properly. So when you get on trail, you know that the gear you selected is the best gear for you to complete the trail with. So like I said, my name's Joe, and I go by Joe Hikes is my trail name, and that's also all my social media is Joe Hikes. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I like to answer questions about gear and other hiking, backpacking related topics.
Hey Joe, appreciate that. That is some really good advice for everybody out there. One of the really neat things about Joe is that there's a mantra out there, and you've heard it before, hikers hike. Well, when COVID hit and Joe had to get off the trail, he got off the Appalachian Trail, but he went ahead and did the Patagonia Trail, thru-hiked the Patagonia Trail while he was waiting on things to get better on the Appalachian Trail. And as soon as he got done, I don't know, I think he took a few days, maybe a week or so, and he got right back on the Appalachian Trail. So we appreciate that. Joe has a YouTube channel and Instagram, and he, again, will be more than happy to help you out, to answer any questions you may have. So check those out. They'll be down in the description section. And he is also one of those that we track, just like Moxie and Knoxville was, and they are on our 2020 hiker list. Well, folks, that's all I've got for this week. I hope that was some great advice for you. I've got tons of more folks coming to us that have been so gracious and giving of their time, and they're going to give us more advice on their thru hike and what they learned while they were out there, and just things that you can take home. And as ER says, use it or lose it, folks. That's all we got this week. As always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out here.